Elie Wiesel remains one of the most famous survivors of the Holocaust. He was a world-renowned author and champion of human rights. And you may be familiar with his book, Night, recounting the horrors he suffered at Auschwitz. And now, 10 years after his death, his story is memorialized in a new opera. And the opera's writer, Chicago Tribune journalist, and friend himself is here now. Welcome, Howard Reich. Welcome to New Day.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here. So this opera obviously explores Wiesel's legacy, but it also shares your family story. So I would love to know your mother's secret and how that was revealed.
So I'm a son of 2 Holocaust survivors, but my parents did not tell us what happened. Most survivors did not share this story with their children. It was just too difficult to talk about. They wanted to spare us the burden of this story. But in 2001, my mother began reliving her experiences. She started thinking that people were trying to kill her again. And I had to figure out why she was doing it. What was the story that she never told me? I figured it out. Basically, she spent her childhood running and hiding from age 11 or age 10 to 14. And when I pieced that together, I wrote a story, I wrote a book, I made a film about it. And then the Chicago Tribune assigned me to do an interview with Elie Wiesel, and that's how this whole process began.
Oh my gosh, and that's how the friendship began. So please tell me about that and when you were in his life.
Well, I never even thought I would meet Elie Wiesel. I mean, he was this iconic person through my whole life, Nobel Peace Prize laureate Elie Wiesel, you know. And then the Tribune said they were giving Elie Wiesel an award, the annual literary award. They said, would you like to interview him? Would I? Of course I would. So I went to New York, I interviewed him on the stage of Orchestra Hall in Chicago in front of 2,500 people. It was a great event, and at the end of it, what amazed me, as great as it was to talk to him, to get to know me, he wanted to continue the conversation.
Wow.
Elie Wiesel wanted to continue talking to me, and that's when I had this idea. This is a book. A survivor, a son of survivors trying to come to terms with what happened to his family and to my family. What is this all about? And when I suggested this idea, he loved it. We spent the next 4 years in conversations with my tape recorder rolling in New York and Florida. And that became a book, which is now becoming this opera, The Dialogue of Memories.
And tell me about this opera and how he inspired it, obviously.
Well, the idea was, after I wrote this book, I was glad to have the ideas down on paper. But when you're with a book, you're sitting and reading it yourself. I wanted to share this with the world. So imagine if you can see this on stage. I'm on Howard Reich on stage with Elie Wiesel. We're talking about this, and my mother is in the background and in the foreground. In other words, I had this exclusive relationship to be with Elie Wiesel for 4 years. Now everyone can see what it was like to be in the room with him.
You bringing this to all of us is going to be such a joy. And so what do you want the takeaway then to be when people come and see this and experience this?
There are a few things. Elie Wiesel preached a lot of important ideas. And if I had to sum it all up into one word, it was tolerance. Elie Wiesel believed in tolerance. He felt, what you believe, what your religion, that's your business. What I believe is my business. He respected people who disagreed with him. He was kind of a poet of the Holocaust. He found the humanity. And I'll just say this one other thing, which is that after the Holocaust, Holocaust survivors were looked down upon. They were treated very ill in the world. They were blamed. Why did you let this happen? Why didn't you fight back as if you could?
Right.
And why didn't you resist? You know what? Trying to live is a form of resistance. Trying to believe is a form of resistance. Because of Elie Wiesel's books and his speaking, he changed the way the world feels about Holocaust survivors. Because of him, people now revere and respect the survivors that are left, understand the heroism that it took to get through that. And Elie Wiesel made that possible for all of us. I hope people gather that from the opera.
Definitely. What do you think your mom and what do you think Elie would think if they were here to see this opera?
So when I just recently wrote an article about the opera, and I sent it to Elie Wiesel's assistant, and she sent me this note back. She said this thing that I will never forget and I always treasure. She said, Elie Wiesel would be so proud of you. And I hope that's the case, because if he spent his life telling the story, then that's what I should do too. And the next generation, it's our duty, our privilege to tell what happened so it never happens again.
Amen. You opened the show in Seattle, which is so exciting, before you go to San Francisco and Chicago. Why did you want to bring it here to Seattle?
Among the various wonderful things about Seattle, one of them is that Music of Remembrance, this great institution, is based here in Seattle. And they commissioned this opera, and they've commissioned many works over the past 28 years. Without Music of Remembrance, we would not have this opera, and we wouldn't have all these great works. So that's why the premiere had to be here in Seattle. It's part of Seattle, and I hope always will be.
Definitely. How can people get tickets? Because I'm sure everyone's watching and wondering how they can come.
It's so easy. You just go to the website, musicofremembrance.org. All the information is there. We hope people will come. There'll be a gala afterwards also. But this will be something no one else in the world will hear or see before people in Seattle do.
And before we have you leave, is there something else that you just want people to know about really the man that Elie was, because you got to have such a personal connection with him for 4 years?
You know, we think of Elie Wiesel in this exalted way, like he's a statue, he's in stone. He was the most human, funny, hilarious person. Sometimes we were just sitting there laughing. But I'm thinking, this is work, I'm sitting here laughing. He was great. And I'll just tell you one quick thing,
Please.
which is that when I told him that when I write this book, no one will see this book before you. Not my wife, not my agent, no publisher. So I sent him the book, and I brought the book to Florida. I mean, I came to Florida for him to see what he thought about the book before anyone saw it. And what do you think? And he said, there's nothing to change. I had booked a whole week in Florida to spend working on the book. There's nothing changed, everything's fine. So we spent a whole week sitting by the pool talking to each other and telling stories. That was Elie Wiesel. He was the most human, he was the least likely celebrity in the world. He didn't seek celebrity, he avoided it, but celebrity found him.
Wow. It's because of people like you, too.
Thank you.
You very, very much for being here.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And again, this opera, The Dialogue of Memories, is in Seattle for one night only. That's on May 17th at Benaroya Hall.